Welcome to News and Views. It's a newsletter for bridge teachers. I'm Audrey Grant. There will be 5 sections of the newsletter. The first one is the book review. I like to get a book about once a month that has something in it, or that I think will have something in it, that will help my bridge teaching. And last month I was in an airport and I came across this book. It's Building a Better Teacher. Now, it was with the bestsellers, as I say, in the airport, and I thought it was quite unusual to see a book on education in this venue. What's your opinion? Is there such a thing as a natural-born teacher? Now, the book starts out by giving some characteristics of the natural-born teacher. Listen to this. Natural-born teachers are extroverted, generally. They're agreeable, conscientious, empathetic, and on and on and on. These are some of the characteristics of these allegedly natural-born teachers. And then the problem was that the studies have been inconclusive. And what we found is that great teachers can be introverts or they can be extroverts, and they can be humorous or serious. They can be flexible or rigid. So what does it matter whether we think there's an idea of a natural-born teacher or not? Well, it matters a lot, because I think that if I thought that, for example, personally, I might not pick this book up. Because I knew inside these pages there would be some mystery, some magic that would improve my teaching and also just generally improve my life. Now, what impact would it have on us, whether we believe this? Let's just take a closer look. In this book, I was introduced to Deborah Ball. Now, she has the view that if we think there's nothing to learn about teaching, it's a dangerous view. So Deborah Ball has, in her career, made it a point to have teacher training. She feels it's incredibly important. This idea of teacher training being very, very important is reflected in many current books on education. The book review, Building a Better Teacher, it really is the theme that no matter how accomplished we are, we can always improve. Now let's move to educational philosophy. I'd like to ask you a question. How many times do you think teachers allow the students to talk among themselves in a classroom? Now, there certainly would be different views. One view would be that allowing students to talk among themselves would just be giving them the opportunity to exchange ignorances. That's a view. The other would be that it would be a very dynamic activity. I think it's not only a dynamic activity, but I think it's necessary. Now, take a look at this YouTube presentation with Deborah, and then let's talk. By giving the students the opportunity to talk among themselves, our classes can be more multi-level in many ways. First of all, in the way that people learn. We can learn by reading, writing, listening, speaking. And speaking, talking to each other about ideas is really something that we need to include in our teaching. We know that people say, I really understood this subject once I started to teach it. And that's probably because we were allowed to talk about it. So we have to provide that opportunity for our students. And there's another reason why this is a really good idea. And that is that it helps class control, because people like to talk. And if we force them to be quiet over a long period of time, they become restless and they will talk. And then what we get is lack of class control. There's another feature of energy. A high energized classroom is one where information more easily comes through. And talking to each other, meeting new people really, the person sitting beside you, is a way to increase the energy. Our next section is material. In Las Vegas this summer, at the North American Bridge Championship, the book of the year, the intermediate book of the year, went to 5 Steps to Simplify the End Play. And I would like to show you that book. Here it is. Improve Your Declare Play, 5 Steps to Simplify the End Play. Now, this is a wonderful book for a wide range class with various levels of experience and skill. And I'll tell you why it works so well. One of the reasons. First of all, it's bite-sized. You can see this. And it fits nicely on the bridge table. Oh, talk about showing you things. I'll show you this. Here's the bidding box. I always have a bidding box for each student when I teach my bridge classes. And look how nicely this book sits underneath this bidding box. So what makes this such a great book is that it starts with, there's 10 practice hands, practice deals. And the first one is very basic, very basic. It puts forth the 5 steps to simplify the end play. And then this idea has worked so well because the way the deals are arranged, each one becomes a little more difficult, and you can have your students involved in the procedure. Did you think deal 2 was just a little bit harder than deal 1? Why? What was there? Well, in deal 2, when we discarded, I'm just giving you the example here, we had to throw away a queen. And a slough and a ruff, it's easy if the slough is a little card. What is there in here that's a little more difficult? And they talk about it. Well, in this one, you have to be very careful what you play on the very first trick. This is a book on the end play. What is it about? When does it take place? Near the end. Well, isn't it a form of irony that it really starts on trick 1? And so that's almost a systemic bias that we have. The end play should be near the end. We shouldn't have to think about it at the beginning. At any rate, these deals, and it's all outlined for you in the teacher's notes, progress one deal at a time, getting a little more and a little more difficult. All of our books are auto-bound. Let's take a minute. Look at this. And this little air pocket, and look how it lies flat. Very convenient to see what it's all about. And it's the bookmark series, so the key points on the flaps, bookmarks, are here for a very convenient study. Now, if you're watching this newsletter for bridge teachers, you might be one of the organizers of a concept like Book of the Month Club, and you're certainly welcome to download at no fee the deal records that go with this. And the deal records which you can have, they look like this. Really? But once your students are accustomed to distributing the cards, they're so easy to use, and we have a demonstration of this under the cards on the table method, which you can click and see information about that. So how are we making out? Well, we've talked about our book review. We've talked about a teaching philosophy. Are you the type of teacher that will allow, permit, encourage teachers to talk during your class in a structured way? Introducing you to a book that if you haven't taught already, I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it, and letting you know that you can get these deal records from us. The next section is bridge equipment. Bridge equipment. I mean, what do you need? You need a card table. You need chairs, of course. You need cards. Seems like a fairly obvious thing, but when I first started teaching bridge, I didn't use this piece of equipment. What could it be? Here it is. The bidding box. For me, a bidding box for each student isn't optional. It's necessary because it does so many things. I mean, first of all, the obvious is that even for an absolute beginner, when they're first being introduced to the language of the game, they can learn how to use this, and they can see that if they have a hand with a lot of spades, like Bridge Basics 1, the very first deal, they put the bid down and everyone can see. They can see it, they can read it. This is reinforcing different ways that people learn the one spade. But the bidding box is a lot more than that. If you believe in this cards on the table method, you're not going to be using a flip chart, and you'll rarely use a data projector presentation. You're using the cards themselves to illustrate the teaching points, whether it's bidding or play or defense. Bridge teachers' equipment. Bidding boxes, you can't do without them. The fifth part of the newsletter is personal stories from one country to another, from one part of the country to another. Bridge communities have been built using the Better Bridge material. And in this first issue, I'd like to introduce you to Bridge on the Edge. Read this article. It's about the success of a bridge community on the very edge of the North American continent. I'd like to introduce you to Barclay because they publish our books, and there's a wonderful discount for teachers. You can get a 50% discount if you buy 20 of anything. What do you mean of anything? Well, you could have one deck of the cards that they have, one book. You could have a copy of a different Better Bridge book. So any 20 items, and you're able to get a 50% discount to help the teachers when they use the textbooks. Well, thank you very much for joining me for News and Views, the newsletter for bridge teachers and groups interested in learning with the concept of the Book of the Month. I'll look forward to seeing you for the next issue. Thanks for joining me.